Okay, so it looks like we've got 2 watchers. Alright, so if anyone's been hanging out to watch this video, my apologies. It's taken me well over an hour to get set up. For some reason I couldn't stream, so there you go. Anyway, I'll stop yammering and I'll get on with it. So this video is going to be concerned with going back to a favourite topic of mine, which is photo bashing. And also creating chaos and creating scenes out of chaos. So yeah, so if you're just tuning into this, sit back and relax and let's get going. So you can see here, if I just zoom in a little bit, I've got some photos here which I've downloaded from Pexels. If you're not familiar with Pexels, it's basically like free images, and it's really great for just resources, things like that. So I'm going to be using these images to sort of photo bash with, but it's mainly for the values. Okay, so I'm going to start I'm going to start by adding these to the scene. Let's try that again. Okay, and what I'm going to do is I'm going to bring this out, stretch it out, something like that. And I'm going to blur it. I'm going to do a motion blur on this. So we've got something going on like that. So it's mainly just for abstract shapes, movement, colours, things like that. I'll go in the next one. So again, I'm not necessarily going for the pictures on this, I'm just really going for the colours, values, things like that. So I'm just going to mess this up. Maybe even use the warp tool on it. Just going to create chaos. Maybe take the opacity down. Okay. I'm not entirely sure where this is going to go. This is part of the fun of it, really. I honestly do not know where this picture is going to go, but it should be interesting. So I'm just going to take part of this away. Just creating chaos. This is what we're doing. So it's quite a difficult thing to do, because you never quite know where it's going to go, or indeed if it's going to work out. So I'm just going to proceed. Copying this. Try not to think too much about it. It's best if you don't really kind of think too much. Just kind of keep it chaotic and just see where you go from there. Try a bit more of that. I'm just going to collapse some of these down. Oops, not down to that layer. Let's take that bit down to there. Yeah, so let's collapse these down. Then what I might do is I might just copy what I've done and play around with the hues on that. I don't know. Collapse that down. Copy that again. So again, I'm just not sure. I'm just looking for really interesting forms, but again, I'm trying not to think too much about it. Just seeing where it goes. So look at. Let's try and radial blur. See what that does. Interesting. Might just try a little bit more with that radial blur. So just going to copy this one here, like so. Put that in the mix. And try a bit of that radial blur. See what that does. Interesting. Interesting. Still not entirely sure. Might just do it again. And I'm just going to have a few more of these pass-throughs just to see if there's anything that can kind of pique my interest. Alright. That could be interesting. Okay. Could be something starting to emerge. Okay, let's bump up that saturation a little bit. Okay, and I might just mess around with these a little bit. I don't like to have a lot of layers, so I'm just going to collapse those down, and I might just put some light and dark in there as well. I'll use the gradient tool. Something a bit there, and let's change that around. Okay. Interesting, interesting. Okay. So basically, where you go from here is, I mean, you could create a series of thumbnails. That's one way around it. But you can also just have a kind of mess around. and just kind of rotate it and just see what emerges. You know, you can squint your eyes. You ever see an artist do this? You know, where they kind of like stand back from the canvas and kind of squint their eyes, trying to kind of see the values. That's what's going on, and just sort of seeing interesting shapes. And also, it's looking at this strange phenomena called, I think I'm pronouncing this right, pareidolia. I've mentioned it in some of my other videos. So basically, you kind of see familiar images in sort of random objects. Salvador Dali did this a lot with his paintings. If you're not familiar with Salvador Dali, I suggest you go and have a look. But yeah, he used to do this a lot, particularly where he grew up. I think it was somewhere on the coast of Spain. But anyway, so yeah, so all I'm doing here is just trying to kind of weigh it up, really. Just seeing what's available. See if there's anything that kind of jumps out. And if there's nothing that's kind of jumping out, add a bit more chaos. Try not to think too much. Add some bits in, take some bits out. You know, just have a bit of fun. A lot of this is about really yeah, relaxing and kind of daydreaming, really. It's just kind of having a play and just seeing what kind of emerges. I might just put another blur on there. Not too much of a blur. Okay. Starting to look interesting. All right. This is quite interesting, actually. Yeah, quite liking that. All right. So I think I've got possible landscape in mind. Could be in the clouds. I can see clouds in there. I'm not entirely sure. There could be some mountains. I'm just going to have a think about this. One of the things I'm going to do, though, is I'm going to shrink this down because I'm going to be using my smudge tool, and I want to just take the size of this image down. So take it down to around about 150. Otherwise, it's just going to have loads of lag. I'm streaming a video as it is. If I start with like a real high resolution image, it's just going to create lag all over the place. And then sort out your brushes. So I tend to kind of use the same brushes, really. There's brush 14 here. Make sure you've got shape dynamics and scattering applied. Oops, put some pen pressure on there and some scatter. So that's my brush, and I tend to use the same one for the eraser tool, which I think is already set up. Yeah, we've got a bit of stuff on there, and the smudge tool as well. I think ditto for that. Yeah, just take off the smoothing, and yeah, we're pretty much sort of good to go. So yeah, and this is where you just, again, I think I'm just going to really just try and find some kind of form in there. And I'm just going to start playing around. Now it's always good to sort of start with your background. So that's what I'm going to start with here. So again, I don't know where this is going to go. I don't quite know where I'm going to go with this, but just going to enjoy the journey. So I think I'm going to go with some kind of sky. So possibly clouds. going to try and resist going into too much detail at this stage, because frankly I don't quite know where this is going to go. So again, just trying to get a feel. I want to kind of create at least like a sort of some depth with the clouds. So again, I think just kind of a sort of a play through, and just could even just use a bit of this dark. Take that opacity down. A river in there. I always like putting rivers in. Just see where that goes. Yeah, I think I'm not going to have so much of an extreme angle. I think I'll have something a little bit more upright. Again, I'm just trying to resist going into too much detail. Might put some hills in there. Mountains maybe. The idea is to really sort of just create contrast. Don't be afraid to take chances. See what works, and if it's not working, just get rid of it. It doesn't have to be perfect. You're going to mess up a lot with your art. It's just going to happen. You're going to go down what you think is a road and it ends up being a cul-de-sac. So the best thing to do, if you're just sort of starting out, really sort of creating concept art and all that kind of stuff, is be prepared to fail. And it's the only way you kind of learn. It's about sort of taking chances. So yeah, don't be afraid to take chances. Don't be afraid to fail. Because in the end you win. Okay, so this could be a sort of near a coast, could be a little sort of estuary kind of coming in there. Not entirely sure. entirely convinced by those trees. You got to try these things out. But I think I'm always a bit wary about putting too much detail there, because it's like, what kind of detail from this distance would you be seeing anyway? So probably the answer is not a lot. So okay. So maybe this, like, the scene is, it's kind of like low cloud, so you probably have some land underneath this, but like, in the kind of mountainous areas, you've got these, you've got the clouds kind of coming up. Change that over. So it's kind of meandering around the bottom of the mountains. Again, if you want to use other layers, you can do. I tend to kind of, personally, I just like working with as few layers as possible, because I think you can get a bit muddled up. I'm just going to sort of create this cliff edge now, and maybe have our protagonist perch somewhere on here. So I'm just using this photograph just to see if I can get any interesting textures off this at all. Could maybe zap the saturation out of it. Go to image, and yeah, I can maybe play around with exposure, and that's one way of doing it. Just seeing if anything interesting comes out of it. Too much. You can kind of have a best thing to do is just kind of have a play. I'm trying to condense all this down, you know, into a sort of short-ish video. But of course, you know, you'd really want to spend a bit more time on it than I'm doing here. So just looking to create some highlights on here. Again, just seeing if it's going to work or not. If it's not going to work, I'll just abandon it. Key is don't be too precious with what you're doing. Again, you could have a little character on there now. A character on a horse, or I'm just thinking time. Time-wise, I think I might just kind of go with a single character. again, it's going to be fairly kind of, keep it fairly abstract. Not going to put too much detail in there. Could be a nomad or some kind of warrior. But yeah, keep it fairly kind of nondescript. Maybe a companion, could be a child. Got their arrows in there, something like that. Oops. Like a suggestion of like a bow or something like that, I don't know. You decide. Of course, many moons ago, this is what people used to do. Fathers would take their usually sons, but I guess daughters as well, I don't know, but usually sons as a rites of passage. So it could be something like that. And of course I could go on with this and you know, start working into it, but essentially I've just done this tutorial just to kind of, again, get you to think about working from photographs and just really using some of the values. Make sure that they're copyright free, of course, and play around, blur, try some of the motion blur, all this stuff here. Have a play around with that. Well, that's quite nice though, isn't it? A bit of movement there. Bit of a happy accident. I think I might leave that in. Yeah, and just don't be afraid to experiment. That's all. So and that's pretty much it, really. I could continue working into it. You could continue working into it. I'll tell you what I might do. I might see if I can put this onto Google Drive, and I'll see if I can save the PSD file, just so you can have it. You can have a play around with it. I don't mind. I'll put a link to it in the comment section. By all means, have a play. And yeah, you know, you can continue working into this if you want. You could send me a link to it yourself and show me what you make of it. But it's entirely up to you. But yeah, I'll see if I can do this. Do it after the video. If anyone's got any questions, now's the time. Otherwise, you can always leave me a message and get back to me. Seeing a Welshman, yo. Okay, yo, back to you, a Welshman. Hope you're having a nice evening. So yeah, so just in the kind of final few minutes of this, I'm just going to do a little bit more sketching and I'm going to sign off. So yeah, if anyone's got any questions, feel free. Otherwise, I will see you in the next video. And apologies for anyone who's been waiting for these videos. I've been trying to stream for ages, and I've had a problem with the server. I've got OBS, and it wouldn't connect for some reason. So for the last couple of weeks, it's been a bit frustrating. Let's put it that way. But it looks like it might be all right now. So so yeah. A Welshman, I'm doing fine. How are you doing? I'm all right. Just having a nice, relaxing evening. So, are you doing any drawing? Anything in Photoshop? I'm glad you're good. It's good to be good. Also finishing something. Alright, let's have a look at that then. Let's have a look. Cool. Yeah, I'm just having a look there on Imgur. Nice, nice. Okay. Yeah, yeah, yeah. I like the characters. Good. Sword's good. I like the eyes as well. It's very scary. Um, yeah, be having to think about that background. Yeah, maybe make your background a little bit lighter, and yeah, try working into the character a bit more, the sort of silhouette. But yeah, I'm liking those eyes. Very good, very good. So keep up the good work on that one. No, no, no. It's not about being the best. It's just about having fun. Exactly. You've got to have fun with this stuff. Otherwise, it doesn't work. So you've got to be relaxed. You've got to have fun. Don't be afraid to make mistakes. That's another thing as well. So I've had plenty of failures in my time. So yeah, just the main thing is to kind of have a play around. So yeah, yeah. Feel free to send any other work, post any other work. That's fine. I'll give you a little bit of feedback if you like. Same goes to anyone else who's watching this either now or in the future. Um, feel free to send me some stuff. I'm always keen on giving feedback to my students, and yeah, so do that. Okay, so I think look, I could carry on with this. I think I'm going to end it there. I'm going to go and stuff my face with something and watch a movie. I don't know about you. What time is it? It's just coming up for 9 o'clock. So yeah, I'm going to try start doing some little tutorials, some more sort of shorter videos. So stay tuned for that. And I think I'm going to sort of do them on the fly. So hopefully the content will be good, but it won't be as flashy as having kind of titles and things like that. But I think my students tend to kind of find that quite useful, just little videos. So whether it's doing stuff in 2D or using 3D stuff like Maya. I'm currently doing a project where I'm kind of working with Maya and putting it into Photoshop. So I might actually, I might do a little session on that and see what you think. So I think most people can get access to Maya. You get it free for 3 years. So that's it. So thanks for watching, folks. Apologies for the false starts. We got there in the end. Look out for more videos in the future. I'm going to be touching on obviously more grassroots drawing stuff, but also looking at 3D stuff, so Maya and 3D Coat, and even possibly getting into Unreal Engine as well. That's something I've been promising to sort of do. I've been doing some little videos for my students, but yeah, so I'm aiming to kind of do a few more of those and just having fun, really. That's it. Thanks for watching. I hope whatever you're doing, you're having a nice time, and enjoy the rest of your weekend. And yeah, I'll catch you guys on the next one. Okay, thanks. Bye for now.